when thinking about the rate of reaction of a nucleophilic alkyl substitution, there are a number of things that one can look at that affect that reaction rate. And we'll be looking at 5 of those. And we'll be looking at these 5 factors that affect the rate of nucleophilic alkyl substitution reactions, both for the SN2 pathway and for the SN1 pathway, because we will find that there are some situations where a factor might speed up an SN2 reaction and simultaneously slow down an SN1 reaction. So those 5 factors are first the leaving group ability. In order for a substitution reaction to occur, the leaving group has to leave. And how good it is at leaving will affect the reaction rate. The more stable the anion, the faster it will be. The second factor is the substrate structure. And we've already seen that primary substrates go by an SN1 pathway and tertiary substrates go by an SN2 pathway, and we're going to want to understand why that's the case. Secondary substrates can undergo both SN2 and SN1 reactions at comparable rates in many cases, or at least both at substantial rates. But primary almost exclusively go by SN2, and tertiary almost exclusively go by SN1. Third factor, perhaps not surprisingly, is the strength of the nucleophile. As you might imagine, that's an important factor for SN2 reactions because the nucleophile is actually involved in the rate determining step, and not so important for the SN1 reaction. Although the strength of the nucleophile can, in fact, determine the product distribution of an SN1 reaction where there is more than one nucleophile. So it's obviously going to affect the SN2 reaction rate. But in the case of the SN1, the nucleophile will have no effect on the rate, and only a potential effect on product distribution. The fourth factor is the solvent. Some solvents can enhance the rate of the SN1 reaction. Other solvents will enhance the rate of the SN2 reaction. We will find out that protic solvents. By protic solvent, we mean capable of hydrogen bonding. like alcohols and amines, water. Protic solvents will enhance the rate of the SN2 reaction or the SN1 reaction. And reduce the rate of the SN2. Whereas polar aprotic solvents things that have a carbon oxygen, sulfur oxygen, carbon nitrogen double or triple bond. So that there's a strong dipole will enhance the SN1 reaction. The SN1 will enhance the SN2 reaction. One pathway. And I just use acetone there as one example. There are several important polar aprotic solvents that we'll get into when we talk about solvent effects. And then the fifth important factor is reaction sterics, where we find that steric hindrance at or adjacent to the reactive carbon or on the nucleophile itself. Will reduce the SN2 reaction rate. And that is, in fact, one of the reasons why our tertiary substrate tends to prefer to go by the SN1 pathway, because steric hindrance at the reactive center, one pathway will take over. So we have these 5 factors. Leaving group ability, that affects substrate structure, which will actually affect the SN2 and the SN1 reaction quite differently, and maybe cause one pathway to be preferred over the other pathway for a particular substrate. The strength of the nucleophile, which affects the reaction rate of the SN2 reaction, and perhaps the product distribution of the SN1 reaction if there's competition. Solvent effects, where we find that protic solvents and polar aprotic solvents have the opposite effect on the SN2 reaction rate. And then reaction sterics, where we see that steric hindrance at or adjacent to the reactive carbon or on the nucleophile reduces the SN2 reaction rate. So what we'll do is we'll consider these one at a time in the upcoming